Hey guys, Tyler here. Neon Genesis Evangelion is one of the most influential anime ever produced. The series takes place in the mid-2010s, a decade and a half after a worldwide cataclysm in a futuristic, fortified city called Tokyo 3. It follows Shinji Ikari, a teenage boy recruited by his father to pilot a giant biomechanical mecha to fight and destroy so-called angels. Evangelion has not only been hailed as one of the greatest animated shows ever made, but it's been described as a deconstruction of the mecha genre itself. This is particularly because it delves deeply into the emotions, experiences, and mental health of EVA pilots, as well as members of the organization NERV. It also features archetypal imagery derived from various religions, including Shinto cosmology and mystical Judeo-Christian traditions. In this video, I'd like to examine various aspects of Evangelion's world and examine what else sets it apart from other mecha anime. Let's get started. Because Evangelion's lore slowly builds over the course of its 26 episodes, I'll start off this video by covering some basic information pertaining to its setting and character backstories before delving into more spoilery territory. As such, it should be no surprise that this video will contain spoilers, though I'll be sure to point out when I start talking about some of the big reveals you'll want to keep as a surprise for yourself if you haven't watched the series. Evangelion's 2015 is, unsurprisingly, quite different from our history. Given the series is primarily set in Japan, it's through the lens of that culture that we see how people, both civilians and non-civilians alike, have been living their lives the past 15 years. The world-changing cataclysm called the Second Impact, which took place on September 13th, 2000, saw the Contact experiment, conducted by an expedition led by NERV director Masato Katsuragi's father, go awry. The experiment attempted to physically fuse human donor DNA into Adam, the first angel, excavated at the South Pole. The energy released from this fusion exterminated all local life in Antarctica, including microorganisms. In order to contain this energy and prevent it from wiping out all life on Earth, the expedition wielded an extraterrestrial artifact called the Spear of Longinus against Adam to reseal it, causing Adam to revert to an embryonic state. But the sheer scale of the Second Impact still had global consequences. Not only did it reformat the South Pole into an uninhabitable Dead Sea, it also shifted Earth's axis and melted the Antarctic ice sheet, causing tsunamis and sea level rise that immediately killed 2 billion people. Another billion died in the following months, including from a nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan, and an N-bomb being dropped on Tokyo, among other planet-wide infighting. In addition to half of Earth's population being wiped out and many coastal areas and islands being submerged, the Second Impact had other severe effects, both environmental and geopolitical. After decades of prosperity, Earth's nations suddenly faced intense scarcity of resources and massive migration of refugees. This led to an expansion of powers held by the United Nations, similarly to its evolution into Earth's official world government in the Expanse. While many nations continue to exist in Evangelion's 21st century, including the US, Russia, Japan, Germany, and China, the UN exercises a much larger role in people's daily lives. They've taken over most of the planet's major militaries, though unbeknownst to most of the population, the UN is firmly under the control of the shadowy organization SEAL that has controlled Earth's governments for a millennium. Japan's capital was moved to Matsumoto City in the Nagano Prefecture, 167 kilometers from Old Tokyo, and was renamed Tokyo 2. Earth's axis shift also changed how seasons are experienced across the globe, with fall and winter disappearing in Japan, fixing the country in a perpetual day of summer. Indeed, the singing of cicadas has become a year-long phenomenon, heard as a recurring environmental motif throughout the series. As you can probably expect, the Second Impact is covered up as a meteorite impact, with the supposed meteorite described as being 10 centimeters wide and traveling at 95% the speed of light, too small and too fast to be detected. This is somewhat reminiscent of the hypotheses regarding the true nature of the 1908 Tunguska event, which flattened over 800 square miles of Siberian forest, attributed to a meteor airburst. And in fact, even members of NERV are kept in the dark about the second impact's true cause, though many are naturally skeptical of the meteorite explanation. Tokyo 3 is the name given to a city built atop pre-impact Hakone, approximately 80 kilometers southwest of Old Tokyo. It consists of buildings that can safely retract into the ground, and other buildings containing launch ports and weapons caches for EVAs. Projected to replace Tokyo 2 as Japan's capital, Tokyo 3 is specifically designed to intercept all incoming attacks from the Angels. According to a prophecy in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Earth could expect the visitation of 15 angels by the time the series takes place, their intention assumed to be to cause a third impact. These angels are Adam's offspring, with the Evas being giant artificial humans born mostly from samples of Adam's DNA, an obvious allusion to the creation of Eve from Adam's rib in the book of Genesis. The misconception that Evas are mechanical robots instead of living creatures with cybernetic components is intentional, as their biological parts are covered in 1,200 pieces of metal armor plating, capable of resisting low-yield nuclear blasts. Their pilots sit in cockpit-like entry plugs inserted into the Eva's spines, and the pilots neurologically synchronize with the Evas to control them, though this also means pilots feel the pain of their unit's injuries. The giant subterranean cavity that Tokyo 3 retracts into during Angel attacks is called a geofront, with another geofront located in Antarctica, though this one is kept secret from the public. While also covered up by the powers that be as a naturally occurring structure, Japan's geofront was originally a massive sphere nearly 14 kilometers wide, though over time it's filled with earth and debris from landslides. In the present day, only a 900-meter tall fraction at the top hasn't been buried, forming a dome-shaped underground cavern. During NERV HQ's original construction, further excavation was performed to add infrastructure like access tunnels, monorails, and car trains leading to the surface, as well as escape routes, shelters, a sewer system, and more. Grass and forests of trees have been planted throughout the geofront, created along with an artificial lake to simulate above-ground conditions for people working below. Reflecting mirrors also channel sunlight through large windows, enabling a real day-night cycle. In addition to protecting from angel attacks, geofronts are actually a real-life concept that has been studied as a possible solution to overcrowding. The design of Evas is furthermore based on Oni, a kind of yokai or supernatural being from Japanese folklore. Known for their superhuman strength, they are typically depicted as hulking figures with horns growing from their heads and large teeth. And despite their monstrous appearance, Oni are linked to bringing good fortune and wealth, and parallel to the Eva's role as humanity's last line of defense. Other inspirations for their design included Gulliver's Travels, and they are characterized by smooth curves that give less of an impression of a robot, but of an organic being. The Eva units prominently featured in the series are only the most successful after a long line of failures. The Eva-designated Unit 0, the official prototype, is piloted by Rei Ayanami, with Unit 1 piloted by Shinji, and Unit 2 piloted by Asuka Langley Soryu. The Eva's bodies are formed of exotic matter that exhibits properties of both particles and waves, which could explain their agility in combat and their ability to walk upright without being crushed under their own weight by gravity. They also share over 99.8% of their genetic makeup with humans, more than we do with chimpanzees. Despite being essentially human, their proportions are of course exaggerated, and they're even capable of regenerating damaged or destroyed body parts. They are created through an asexual process similar to binary fission in amoeba, the insertion of an entry plug completing the neural connection from the Eva's heads to the rest of their bodies. During insertion, the entry plug is flooded with an amber fluid called LCL, providing oxygen and facilitating the link between the Eva and its pilot. LCL's real-world equivalent as a breathable liquid is the class of chemicals called, perfluorocarbons, or PFCs, with at least 5 different varieties having been tested on humans with varying success. Perflubron and perfluorohexane are used to help premature infants and burn victims, respectively, to breathe, and perfluorodecalin is used as a blood substitute to enable oxygen delivery if a traditional blood transfusion is unable to be performed. However, PFCs are clear instead of orange and are twice as dense as water, while LCL is less dense. Either way, LCL has another function, which I'll get to in a bit. At this point, I'm definitely going to start exploring aspects of Evangelion's lore that constitute major spoilers, so just keep that in mind. The ability of the Eva pilots to sync with their units is also eased by imbuing the unit with the soul of the pilot's mother. Though it's unknown if the mother or the pilot is chosen first, we do know that pilots can be switched between units, though this is more of an experimental feature that, on at least one occasion, has resulted in the unit going berserk. While not a spoiler itself, it's explicitly stated that only 14-year-old children can pilot Evas, and fans have come up with a few explanations as to why. For one thing, it's possible that hormonal changes in late puberty make synchronizing with the units impossible for adults, but NERV wants the oldest possible pilots, meaning 14-year-olds are the most mature individuals possible before these biological changes start to occur. Secondly, all the Eva pilots were conspicuously born the year after the second impact. Indeed, when Shinji asks his father Gendo why he has to pilot Unit 1, Gendo replies, "No one else can."
Someone else might have gotten it wrong.
Later installments in the franchise contradict this limitation, though it could be because the Eva units still recognize their pilots, allowing synchronization to continue. The concept of transferring someone's soul into another vessel, which could be hand-waved as the process of mind uploading explored in lots of other science fiction, is also employed in the Magi, a trio of supercomputers used by NERV to advise during missions. The Magi, named after the 3 wise men, are also cybernetic in nature. Not only do they obviously contain mechanical circuitry and other components, but their computation is performed with the aid of seemingly biological brain material connected by fiber optic cable. A somewhat similar concept can be seen in Star Trek Voyager with its bioneural gel packs, a replacement of the isolinear circuitry previously popular in the mid-24th century. The gel packs use organic computing to arrive at solutions to problems using so-called fuzzy logic, which is reminiscent not only of the probabilistic computing performed by quantum computers, but also the way deep learning works, producing outputs from a black box into which training data is fed. The Magi contain the copied neural patterns of Dr. Naoko Akagi, their designer and developer. As we are told multiple times in the anime, the Magi are implanted with 3 differing aspects of Akagi's personality: her identity as a scientist, her identity as a mother, and her identity as a woman. This often leads to each supercomputer suggesting a different solution to the same problem. The actions taken by NERV when the Magi offer differing solutions varies on a case-by-case basis, though sometimes a unified consensus is needed. In addition to their work for NERV, the Magi also supposedly run the entire Japanese government, with elected officials purely serving as figureheads who employ solutions proposed by the system. While it's unclear what government functions the Magi specifically control, these are likely related to things like public transportation, taxation, and other key issues. Besides the angels being offspring of Adam, what else can be said about them? Well, despite being over 99.9% genetically identical to humans, they can take on a vast variety of forms. They possess an organ called an S2 engine, or fruit of life, that provides them with theoretically limitless energy. Angels seem to begin their lives as humanoid entities and develop embryonically inside egg-shaped objects in a similar manner to Adam or an Eva. At some point, however, their human form is rejected, and they undergo a spontaneous metamorphosis into their adult form. They are generally uncommunicative, though this is not always the case, with some appearing to possess genuine curiosity or loneliness, like regular people do. Nearly universally, though, their motivation is to penetrate Tokyo 3 and access the deepest, most secret level of Nerve HQ called Terminal Dogma. While housing an LCL production plant, it also contains the crucified second angel, Lilith. While the angels believe Adam is in Tokyo 3, implying they seek to reunite with their progenitor, it's also possible they sense Lilith and are attempting to neutralize it, viewing it as a rival. This is because, as we learn, Lilith is the progenitor of Homo sapiens, who are referred to by the 17th angel, Kaworu Nagisa, as the Lilin, and essentially make up the 18th angel as a colony organism. They possess the fruit of knowledge, which manifests as sapience, another obvious reference to Genesis. Lilin is actually a word originating from Mesopotamian lore, the term meaning night spirits in Jewish mythology, and possibly a female form of the Akkadian word Lilu. The name Lilith is derived from the Akkadian Lilitu, meaning of the night, and Lilith is considered a primordial she-demon by the Jewish Talmud. According to the tradition, Lilith was Adam's first wife who was created from the same earth as him, but fled the Garden of Eden as she did not want to submit to him. This backstory is further fleshed out in the Genesis spin-off series Has-Been Hotel. In addition to its use by EVA pilots, LCL is also Lilith's blood and formed the primordial soup from which the common ancestor of all life on Earth emerged. This is also why Adam's original offspring are referred to as humanities that could have been, as those angels represent an entirely separate evolutionary line. Over 4 billion years ago, Lilith's egg, the Black Moon, collided with Earth in what would later be termed the First Impact. However, this was an accident, as Adam's egg, the White Moon, had already landed in what would later become Antarctica. Both moons were seeds of life created by the first Ancestral race, a presumably humanoid species with hyper-advanced technology who may have been the Milky Way's first intelligent life. Facing extinction and intending to preserve their legacy, they sent 7 progenitor life forms, each imbued with the souls of members of their race, inside carrier vessels destined for specific planets across the galaxy. The souls in each progenitor are contained in a chamber of Guf, Hebrew for body, these souls waiting for rebirth on another world. This means that both angels and Lilin are effectively reincarnations of the first ancestral race. The Guf is a seemingly interdimensional space merely linked to the physical world, like how hypothetical higher dimensional objects can intersect lower dimensional planes. This is similar in concept to the Dirac Sea, essentially a shadow of the angel Leliel, identified by Ritsuko Akagi as a pocket world of sorts. Not only does the Dirac Sea possess some properties of what we would call a wormhole into another universe, it's also a real scientific term. First theorized by British physicist Paul Dirac in 1930, it is a theoretical model of vacuum space as an infinite sea of electrons, which possess negative energy. It was meant to explain anomalies predicted by the Dirac equation, which describes the electromagnetic interactions of electrons and quarks, and was the first quantum mechanics theory to fully account for special relativity. It also predicted the existence of antimatter, with the electron's antimatter counterpart, the positron, originally conceived as a hole in the Dirac Sea until it was discovered in 1932. Such imaginary space, as episode 16 describes it, could in my mind also be the origin of the limitless energy provided by the S2 engine, as many organisms in sci-fi possess organs with space-time bending properties. Getting back to the seeds of life, each seed was accompanied by a spear of Longinus to control and incapacitate a seed in the event it becomes too powerful. They are named after the alleged spear used by a Roman soldier, Longinus, to pierce Jesus as he hung on the cross, causing some of Jesus' blood to spill onto Longinus' eyes, converting him into a believer. Lilith's spear is believed to have been lost or destroyed during the first impact, which created the cavern that would later become the Japan Geofront. The accidental nature of the first impact is almost certainly a reference to the Theia impact, the hypothesized real event in which a Mars-sized object called Theia collided with the proto-Earth over 4 billion years ago, creating Earth's moon. First proposed in 1946, this explanation for the moon's origin is now now widely accepted in the scientific community and is supported by isotope analysis of rocks from both Earth and the Moon. The first Ancestral race were also the authors of the Dead Sea Scrolls, copies of which were placed into each moon as essentially manuals detailing the functionality of the seeds and spears. Kinda sounds like eels and escalators. The Dead Sea Scrolls are, of course, real documents discovered in the mid-20th century in the West Bank, containing the oldest surviving manuscripts of entire books in the Jewish and Christian biblical canons, as well as many supplementary licensed non-canon works like the Book of Enoch and Star Trek Judgment Rights. That second one was a joke. But while most of the texts have been published, missing portions in the Evangelion universe were kept by seal. The concept of a progenitor race is, of course, not new in sci-fi by any means, being thematically similar to the Firstborn in 2001: A Space Odyssey and the ancient humanoids in Star Trek. While humanoid life evolving elsewhere in the galaxy may seem unlikely, some astrobiologists believe that the bipedal stature could be the most common form of civilization-building intelligence on Earth-like planets, as it is a more efficient body plan. While there's nothing about this in any Evangelion literature, the first ancestral race may have evolved on a world orbiting an F-type star, as those would have been the first with enough abundance of heavy elements to form rocky, habitable planets and support a resource-intense industrial civilization. Such metal-rich stars first formed about 7 billion years ago, and the more intense UV radiation from F-type dwarfs could have accelerated evolution so that an advanced species appeared 3 billion years after the planet's formation, faster than humans appeared on Earth. The makers of Evangelion also considered having two ancient civilizations that predated humanity, one that created Evangelions but were destroyed by them, and another that created the spears to contain the Evas. This idea was later changed, though it bears some resemblance to the trope of civilizations being cyclically destroyed by artificial life, such as in the Battlestar Galactica continuity. Seal's ultimate plan involves the creation of the Human Instrumentality Project, in which all Lilith's souls would be combined into a singular, perfect being. Every human's flaws would be complemented by others' strengths, though they would lose their individual forms. As we see in the movie, The End of Evangelion, Instrumentality is brought on by the Third Impact, the event which Nerve spends the series trying to avoid. After Rei, really a clone of Shinji's mother Yui, merges with Lilith, every human loses their psychological barrier, or AT field, short for absolute terror field, essentially what protects humans from being assimilated, so to speak, due to their ability to experience horror. Indeed, we're consistently shown that angels and Evas have far more powerful AT fields than humans, implying they're both in a constant state of terror far greater than humans. This honestly reminds me of the Trisolarans in Three Body Problem. One reason they're hell-bent on conquering humanity is that they are all afraid of our ability to lie, and to them, fear is equivalent to survival. They view humans as inferior because fear allowed the Trisolarans to evolve far beyond us technologically, and in Evangelion, fear is very clearly a powerful force as well, the loss of which allows one to be subdued by far greater forces. Anyway, upon their AT fields being penetrated, humans are reduced back to LCL in a sort of reverse creation, their souls collected back into the Black Moon. Shinji tells Rei this isn't what he wanted, however, and Instrumentality is reversed, granting humans free will once again. Evangelion's use of mystical imagery from a variety of religions has complicated fans' attempts to form an unambiguous interpretation of its themes. And indeed, the creatives have said the use of Judeo-Christian symbolism was meant to make the visuals more interesting and exotic for a Japanese audience. Regardless, though, the way the series radically recontextualizes the biblical narrative, including naming the angels after the angels of God in the Old Testament, makes for incredible world building. The series is also a deeply personal expression of director Hideaki Anno's own struggle with depression, with many characters representing Freudian and Jungian archetypes, such as Shinji having an Oedipus complex. It's probably one of the densest works in terms of subtext and illusion I've covered recently, and it's no surprise it's inspired aspects of countless other anime. Even the commentary in this video is a fraction of the thoughts I have on the series as a whole. That said, would you like to see more videos like this, including about other anime? Let me know down below. With that, Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below and don't forget to share it. That stuff really helps me out. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that as well so you don't miss future uploads, and click the bell icon to receive all notifications. If you want to support my work even further, you can become a patron at patreon.com/OrangeRiver, link in the description, or become a YouTube member by clicking the join button on my channel page. I just want to give a quick shout out to all of my donors who allow me to bring on outside talent like editors to make more high quality content for you to enjoy. By becoming a patron or member, you also get access to awesome perks like behind the scenes photos and videos, patron and member only polls, naming the credits, merch discounts, and more. Or you can drop a one-time super thanks or PayPal donation, all are appreciated. Links to my PayPal, as well as my social media and merch store, where you can get a shirt like this designed by my good friend Phobia, are in the description too. Also, just as a reminder, I do have a second channel, OrangeRiver Plus, where I've uploaded the VODs of lots of my gaming streams, with more on the way. And in addition to some other goofy one-offs and extra behind-the-scenes content, I've officially made it my second streaming platform, so be sure to subscribe there too, so you don't miss any new content. That's all I have for this week. I'll see you next time.
Hey you! Yes you! Sitting there watching AI-generated Star Trek slop! Listen up! I've emerged yet again from reptilian hell to deliver another very important message. OrangeRiver has launched a Kickstarter campaign for his new short film, Last Hope Rebirth. Why is it called Last Hope Rebirth? Because it's a sequel to the original award-winning short. Duh! The goal is to raise $2,000, but here's the kicker. The campaign ends August 15th at 11 a.m. Central. So just follow the Kickstarter link in the description or pinned comment and back with $2 or more to get perks. Let go of your pesky latinum and show your support before it's too late. Now until they bring me out for something else, back to reptilian hell.